Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to another Burf and Greavesie. I call him the Oracle. Now we're going to keep it relatively tight because, as you can see, a lot of these boxing podcasts kind of wander over ages and ages. No one actually gets to the point. So what we're going to do is go through a few of the fights on the card, Frank. And as you're the Oracle, I'm going to ask you what you think about these fights. I'm going to put my little bit in, as I often do. You've seen me do that.
Once or twice.
But this time, I think I'm going to because I know you've got quite a lot of experience with quite a lot of the lads on the card. So I'm going to kick it off with this one. Riyadh season, obviously. Right. You've worked, I think, with Hamza Shiraz. He's boxing WBC middleweight title, Carlos Adames.
Yep.
How does that one go?
I see Shiraz stopping Adames mid to late rounds. Adames is obviously very aggressive, likes to get up close and personal, likes to almost take one to land one.
Dominican Republic, lads from the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Tough kid.
Yeah, very, very good fighter. Only lost once in his career. A couple of decent wins, but no real standout ones.
Quite a high KO ratio, but surprisingly enough, not doesn't look like a one-punch banger type kid.
No.
More kind of break them up, break them down sort of lad.
Yeah, I think he's the type to hit you with 4 or 5 rather than 1 or 2.
Right.
But again, I see stylistically, Shiraz with that tight guard is going to get very up close and personal. He's exceptional at that style. So I just think Shiraz is better at the in-close fighting, punches too hard, is too accurate, doesn't waste a lot. And as we've seen over the last sort of 4, 5, 6 fights of his, he really seems to be sitting down on his punches. I think the move to middleweight suited him massively. He's a big boy at the weight.
Big boy, but I was going to say, he is a big boy at the weight, and isn't there a risk, if he does get banged, he might get wobbled?
Well, there's always a risk there.
Because you don't know how tight is he at 11. I mean, he's a big old boy, isn't he, for that weight?
We've never seen it. We've never really seen him chin check properly by a proper puncher.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, he was a 154er. How he ever made 154, I don't know. But certainly making middle's not going to be easy. But so far, so good. He's stood up in the chin department. I mean, it remains to be seen until we actually see it. We don't know. But I just think with that tight defence, he's so sharp, so accurate, doesn't waste anything, and Adames just looks too easy to hit for me.
Do you know what? I've not seen a lot of Adames, if I'm being honest. Seen a fair bit of Shiraz, but looking at Adames, he looks like the kind of kid who can only box one way.
Yeah.
And that one way might be the right way for Shiraz.
Definitely.
So I think I'm going to... So if you were putting your money down, are you looking at a 7-12 type bet? Stoppage, Shiraz, obviously winning.
I'll probably go 6 to 9.
Okay.
6 to 9. If I was going to, yeah, mid to late, 6 to 9.
Yeah.
You know.
Also, it'd be 7 to 9 on the 3-round spread.
Right. Okay. Yeah. 7 to 9.
7 to 9.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
7 to 9. Okay, Frank. Thanks for that. Another fight that I'm really interested in. Ajit Kabayel. What an incredible heavyweight kid he is. Tough night. Zhilei Zhang. Styles make fights, don't they, Frank?
Styles do make fights, Burfy, and I think this is made for Caballero again. Zhang, obviously massively dangerous, big boy, can clearly bang, but has got absolutely zero engine. And I think one of Caballero's strongest points is the fact that he puts you under massive pressure, makes you work every second. He'd done it against Makhmudov, he'd done it against Frank Sanchez. They're both decent fighters, but they both run out of juice. And Zhang clearly runs out of juice. As soon as he does, he's done.
So Parker last time obviously beat Zhang, gets knocked down a couple of times, beats Zhang points, propels himself into the big fight with Dubois, which we're going to talk about in a second. But you know something? I'm going to tell you this. I honestly think Zhang's all done.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Zhang's all done. I think there's a couple of these lads who have had results. I'm going to talk about Parker as well, because I've got a theory about him. I know we don't disagree about this.
Yeah.
We do disagree about this. But I think you're right. I think this Caballero is going to be all wrong for Zhilei Zhang. I think that there's a chance that Zhang could do something early. There's a chance when he's always at his best. It's very dangerous. But this kid looks like he's the real thing, doesn't he? He looks like the sort of kid that no one really wants to fight.
Yeah, I mean, he's got an incredible engine.
He's why he's ended up fighting Zhang, I can imagine.
Looks like he's got a good chin.
Yeah.
Great work rate. Goes upstairs, downstairs, goes to the body really well. He's athletic, he moves well. I don't think he's the biggest banger in the world, but I think he's big enough and he's aggressive enough that he's just going to wear you down. And a lot of these heavyweights just can't fight at a pace. And ultimately, Zhang definitely can't fight at a pace. I mean, going back to the Parker fight, had Zhang had that ability to just go through another gear, he stops Parker.
Yes. Yes.
You know, there was 2 times when he dropped him. They weren't big knockdowns, but had he been able to go through the gears, probably stops Parker. Big boy, massive power, but 0 engine. I think it's just all wrong for Caballero.
Do you know what I'd like to see? There's a fight I'd like to see, and it's not. No one's talking about this fight. I'd like to see Caballero versus Beterbiev.
Yeah.
I would love to see that fight because Beterbiev got great hands, not incredible feet.
Yep.
This lad's got great feet, great hands, great work rate, can get out the way of a shot.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great fight. Do you know, I'd actually probably back Caballero to pull it off as well.
Well,
I don't know if you'd agree with that.
There was some talk about that fight happening before this one got made.
Wow, was it?
And
I'd love to see that fight.
There's been all sorts of stories coming out post Caballero blaming Beterbiev for it not happening, and Beterbiev blaming Caballero for it.
Beterbiev obviously going for the Nigerian money, isn't he?
Well, potentially, but you know,
If
ultimately,
that can happen, dreams.
for
all got dreams.
For a guy who said he's so avoided, you'd think he'd take any opportunity that he can get, but you know, maybe he's.
Well, this is the thing, so avoided right up to the point when you're actually a bit successful and then you start avoiding people because the money comes in, it's a different conversation.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right, so let's go on to then, obviously the Dubois-Parker fight. Now, I'm going to just say what I think.
Yeah.
Shoot me down, you will.
I will.
Oracle.
I will.
But I think Parker's flattered to deceive. I think he had a great night against Zhang by getting up a couple of times and winning that. He's fought Wilder, who was appalling, and in his next fight gets absolutely nailed by Zhang. So to me, Wilder and Zhang are both pretty much over. He's crept past them, and now a buoyant Dubois. A Dubois, let's be honest, Dubois comes across as the sort of kid who, if he believes it, he believes it.
Yeah.
And I've got a funny feeling that young Dubois now believes he's like the Marvin Hagler dog in the fight. He can find a way through it. But he's got me believing it too, Frank. What about you?
I'm not believing it. I'm still a little bit dubious about Dubois, if you'll excuse the pun. No, mate, I don't. Sorry, I don't believe it. I think that he's flattered to deceive a little bit. I think obviously the Jarrell Miller win was pretty decent, and he did come through a rocky moment there. But Miller, we all know of his past problems, very, very inactive.
Hrgović though, Frank?
Mate, Hrgović is massively overrated. Hrgović lost against Zhang.
Frank, I can't believe
he struggled against
he didn't lose against Zhang. He got the decision,
He did get the decision, but if you go back and watch it, he definitely lost it.
We can't reinvent the past, Frank. Not even
we
can do that.
Fair enough, but he didn't impress against Zhang. He didn't impress against Zhang.
He didn't, but he still won. And I quite liked Hrgović along those lines because he always looked pretty poor and always won, which always told me he was quite a good fighter, probably a better fighter than he looked.
Hrgovic's last fight, again, I mean, he got a stoppage in the end against a guy that Italmo was just knocked out. His name escapes me right now. He's flattered to deceive a little bit, Hrgović. There was a lot made of him.
His last fight was against Dubois, wasn't it? But I thought Hrgović looked very good in the Dubois fight, right up to the point when Dubois came on again and kind of took the wind out of his sails. I don't think he could believe it, if I'm being honest.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it. It's a decent win. Hrgović is clearly a very good fighter, but is it a little bit too much made of it? And again, the Joshua fight, listen,
it's very hard to judge these kids, isn't it? Really,
it is very hard.
They don't fight each other enough.
It's very hard.
And you're absolutely right. You're making a lot of assessments based on your feel rather than fact. I grant you're right on that. But
mate, the way I see it, if Parker gets it right in terms of tactically, Dubois definitely doesn't like a lot of side-to-side movement. Jarrell Miller don't really move, too big. Filip Hrgović, not really a lot of lateral movement.
No.
Parker can move. He can move left and right. If you stand in front of Dubois like Joshua did, it's going to be a very, very, very long, hard night or a short, hard night.
Do you know the thing that keeps coming back to my memory, though? Do you know the thing that comes back to my memory when I'm thinking about Parker?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about him getting banged by Dillian Whyte. Now, I'm not saying Dillian Whyte's not a good fighter, but to me, he's not of that kind of class.
Yeah.
And the fact that someone could get banged as badly as he did get banged by him tells me he can get hit. Zhang hit him. Yeah. Obviously, the Joyce, he's picked up a lot of damage from Joyce. I just think that is a boxer who, again, flattered to deceive. He's had a couple of decent wins, but when you actually slide them into a perspective, you think to yourself, well, Wilder was all over, isn't it? I mean, Wilder barely walk, it seems, anymore.
Mate,
low box. And then you've got the other kid Zhang, as you know, very slow, very ponderous, and he still gets him over, and also gets him over quite late in the fight as well, when he's throwing even less shots. I've got to say, I think Dubois steamroll. I think Dubois gets him out there inside 5 or 6 rounds. That's what I think. Yeah. But you're the oracle, Frank.
Well, there's no pressure now, is there? No, mate. I've got a sneaky feeling that he's going to tactically get it right, and the walls are going to come crumbling down on Dubois again. I fancy Parker. Probably late, maybe a late stoppage. Maybe Dubois runs out of steam again, as he did in the fight against Usyk. And maybe goes down, takes a knee, gets out of there.
You know something, Frank. When I lay awake at night thinking about you and what the things you say about boxing, up and think he's right. Could I go to sleep and have a nightmare on this one? Could you possibly be wrong? Probably not. You're a very wise man. But I'm going to ask you this one. Yeah, now, this is a tough one. Obviously, we've got the rematch.
Yep.
Bivol, Beterbiev.
Yep.
Now, I've always said this. I'm very big on looking at fights like those. Obviously, Beterbiev won. Yep. And then I look at that fight and I think, who's the guy? Because they both had 36 minutes to have a look at each other. Oh, who's the guy who can adapt his style next time and change it up? And do you know something? You made me change my mind. You made me change, because I looked at Bivol and I thought, he's all that kind of Eastern Bloc, long and strong, straight stuff. So he's obviously the boxer of the two. But then there is that little thing at the back of my mind. And I scratched it. It was like, hold on, no. Bivol didn't do anything for the last 3 rounds. Yeah. Basically, in a fight, and I don't think it was close. I thought Beterbiev was winning that fight relatively well, when Bivol gave him back the last 3 rounds on top of that. So all this controversy to me is a load of nonsense. Yeah. I thought Beterbiev won that fight. I thought Bivol, I wouldn't go as strong as to say swallowed it, but he certainly didn't go out on his shield, did he? He didn't go for it.
Absolutely not at all. Absolutely not at all.
I'm going to say what I think, and then you can tell us what you think. I think that the one who actually changes up a little bit, not his style, but his intensity, is Beterbiev, because I think Beterbiev hit the last 3 rounds of that fight thinking this kid's going to come on.
Yeah.
And he didn't. Yeah. And he knows that. So I think the style change will be Beterbiev, who will then start really pushing on from about round 5, 6 onwards.
I completely agree, mate. I completely agree. I mean, I was convinced after the first one. I didn't see it as particularly close. I thought Beterbiev won it by 4 or 5 rounds.
It was interesting though, wasn't it? Because a lot of people sort of tried to come off very aficionado about it and saying it was a great fight, it was technically this, it was technically that. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think it was. I think there were a couple of elements that you'd expect to see from 2 top-end fighters, but was it up there with like a Leonard, Tommy Hearns type tactical fight? To me, I thought it was a tad overrated, if I'm being honest.
I think it was a fight that lacked a little bit of drama. That's all it was missing. It was clearly 2 very good operators, 2 very technical operators, 2 very well-prepared operators, but it lacked a little bit of drama. I don't think you're going to have that in this fight. I think you're going to see a much more aggressive Beterbiev. I mean, again, there's a lot of unknowns, but Beterbiev was coming off the back of the knee injury. The fight had been pushed back. He's now coming into it fresh, as far as we know.
Yeah. But an older guy.
Definitely an older guy, but still hasn't taken much damage in that last fight, has he? He hasn't got a lot of miles on the clock off the back of that last fight.
No, but he obviously trains very hard, so he obviously pick up injuries. Yeah. And there's always an issue with a lot of, take David Haye when he was fighting Blue. It wasn't that the fact that David Haye didn't have the ability to box him, is he couldn't train to the intensity he used to train, so he couldn't bring that kind of level of intensity to the fight. Yeah. And I wonder if that, more than anything else, might be something that brings Beterbiev down. He picks up so many injuries in training that he has to marginalise his training, and that's when somebody else could step in and obviously take advantage. But not this fight.
No, I don't see it personally, mate, as I say. I mean, I think in terms of adaptability, there's things that Beterbiev can do in this fight that he didn't do so well in the first fight. He can cut the ring down, he can put Bivol under a little bit more foot pressure.
I'd say that was what he needs to do,
definitely,
exactly that.
Definitely needs to cut him down a little bit more. He's now, I'm pretty sure he's going to go into the fight fairly confident that Bivol can't hurt him with anything. He caught him clean a few times, he's felt his power. He's going to go in there a little bit more aggressive. It's a shame to say, because I do like Bivol and I love watching him, but I think Beterbiev stoppage 9-12 for me.
I think you're about right, to be honest with you, mate. I'd say that last 3 rounds would be haunting Bivol more than it'd be haunting Beterbiev.
Definitely.
And as you and I both know, you know, a second in boxing becomes an hour when it's all going horribly wrong. So yeah, I'd go along with that. I don't know if I'd be quite as specific at that. I'd go 7-12, Beterbiev stoppage. But yeah, I think on the same lines. All right, so that's kind of wraps it for us. I hope you got a lot out of that. If you're looking at the spread bets on that, that's the way we're going. Of course, we're not advising you to bet or gamble on boxing, but that's the way we'll be putting out. That's where we'll be putting our pennies, Frank, isn't
Definitely,
it?
Mate,
And I
definitely.
certainly will be putting a few pennies on it. Frank, the Oracle, always a pleasure, never a chore. Apologies for holding myself in this fashion, but we're doing this in the gym. And it's rather cold.
Chilly.
So yeah, big brave boxing type people. Freezing. Enjoy the fights on Saturday night, and yeah, if you're seeing this on LinkedIn or one of the social medias, give us some feedback, tell us what you think. Nothing rude.